it's an absolutely glorious morning here. We've got blue skies, sunshine, and just some fluffy white clouds up in the sky. A perfect day to be getting on with the rest of my list. And the first thing I'm going to do today is start some more of these bark pathways. So I'm just going to do one strip, which is here in front of you. I've had to move the bird feeder, so I'm between the shed and the flower bed with the polytunnel behind me. And let's go up and get some of the bark chippings that I've got stored at the top of the drive. So that's 3 wheelbarrows from the top down and spread out evenly. I do need to chop with some scissors the end of that roll, and I've left a little lip all the way around the edge because I will be going up to the edge of the wildflower meadow and also extending it that way and that way. But I'm pretty chuffed with that. So that'll do for here for now. What I really need to do next is get everything watered and have a little look and show you how we're getting on with the seedlings and everything that's going in the polytunnel. So it's really warm in here. It is 27.4 degrees here in the polytunnel and 16.3 degrees outside. Yesterday and up until now it's been a maximum of 30.3 degrees in here, 18.5 outside, and overnight we've had dropping temperatures of 1.6 degrees outside and just 1 degree in here. So let's reset that, and I will show you these fluctuating temperatures, how they have affected some of my seedlings. But not all is lost. Nothing's dead, but there's a couple of things that aren't looking too great. So let's get the watering done. And this is a time that I'm actually watering empty beds and empty tubs because I'm getting them prepared for when I do plant them up. I think a mistake that a lot of newbie polytunnel owners do, and it's certainly a mistake I made years ago, is not watering those empty beds through the winter months and the spring months, and they really dry out because of course there's no natural rainfall in here, obviously. So yeah, it's really important to water your empty beds. So let me show you around and show you how things are progressing. Some things have germinated, some of those that I'd already shown you as seedlings are really coming on, and a couple of things that aren't doing so well. So let's start off here on the staging. So I've got numerous seeds and I have sown a few more, and I can't remember which ones I've shown you and which ones I haven't. But let's show you, there are some tiny bits of germination on some dwarf green kale. It's so minuscule you may not be able to see it. We have got some Romanesco which has germinated. What have we got in here? Oh, some good old Mizuna. There's a few bits and bobs that haven't germinated yet. The kalettes, so of the ones I potted on, 2 of them are really not looking great, and out of the 4 I potted on, 2 were looking good, and I've potted them on again. So Will, if you're watching, they're doing all right. So yeah, they're not doing too badly at all. And then these are the ones from the original sowings, and they're looking really good actually, so could be potted on. But if I get these 2 good plants, then I won't be needing these ones, so I can give those away, and they need kind of giving away really within the next week or so. And these, although they're looking really weedy, they might come to something. Now the other thing I did was the cucumber that I had from my sister. Oh, motorbikes. I had it down there, and it was in the little pot that she'd given it to me in. And as you can see, it's looking really sorry for itself. Now, it looked like this yesterday, which is why I've moved it into a bigger pot. I think actually what had happened was here we get, on the staging at this height, we get less fluctuations in temperature, even though they are up against the edge of the polytunnel. This kind of middle temperature seems to stay reasonable, whereas the 2 ends by the doors and in the shade at that end are where I really do get those when it drops overnight. And this little guy was actually right over by the door, which is the door with the mesh on it, and I think it was just a bit cold for him or her. So I've potted said cucumber into a larger pot, and I'm just going to cross my fingers. And then let's go down and have a look at the seedlings down that end. So they're all looking really healthy. The tomato plants are doing okay. They're the ones from my sister, and I haven't moved them out of those pots. I will get those potted on soon. This squash plant's looking great, and it's the only one I've got so far, but I have sown some more. These sweet peas look fabulous, as do the nasturtium. And then these shallots here and the spring onions, they're really getting ready to start shifting on soon. And then there's a few herb seedlings there as well. And then here we've got the carrots that I've slow grown over winter, and they're really taking off now. And then my latest sowing of carrot seedlings in here. So I should have a nice early harvest and then a second harvest. Although I don't get them all in at once, I tend to take out what I need. But essentially I'm going to get some mature carrots and then some coming a little later. So really the last seeds I'm thinking of sowing, because I have sown some more, and as I say, I can't remember what I've shown you and what I haven't, so I'm not going to bore you by going through everything that's sown, but suffice to say pretty much everything is in now, apart from I'm doing my pumpkins, or swede, try that again. I'm doing my pumpkins and squash differently this year. I've had such a successful harvest in the last 3 years that we're still eating them. I've still got some stored in the spare room, and I've also got a load in the freezer that I've roasted and scooped out the flesh and frozen. So really I've got enough to keep me going, but I do like growing them. So I've got the Yukiki Kiri that my sister gave to me. I will be doing some summer squash, so the courgettes. I have sown some more Yukiki Kiri just because I love them so much. But what I've got are these Jack Be Little. Now I love pumpkin and squash. I love growing them. I love watching them grow. I love watching them develop. I love harvesting them. Oh, big tractor coming past outside. I also really like to have them to decorate the house with through the autumn months. I love having them around the house. But what I love about that is that they look beautiful, and I can pop them all around the house to look nice, but then we can eat them. So what I've decided is if I do some of these Jack Be Little, I don't need as much space for them. And of course, you know, one little pumpkin will look great, and a couple of those chopped up in a meal. We just don't need so many. So next season, I may very well grow some of the bigger varieties again. I am fibbing actually. I think I have also grown put some butternut in. butternut. What's the matter with me today? Some butternut. But I'm going to try really hard. I haven't sown as many, and I'm going to try and just do maybe one plant, so one vine. I haven't decided where the bigger varieties are going. These guys I am thinking of building, so behind you, outside the door of the polytunnel and further up the paddock, we've actually got some hazel, and every year I chop it and then it grows back. And I used that to build the squash frame that I have used for a couple of years. And I'm thinking of building some kind of arched structure to have these little pumpkins. It'll look beautiful, glorious and green, and then as the pumpkins form, they're smaller so they don't take up as much weight, and it'll just look lovely. So I'm looking forward to doing that, partly just for the aesthetics, how beautiful it will be, and then, as I say, I'll have some little baby pumpkins to enjoy. The other thing I've finally got my hands on, I've seen other people growing it, is this peppermint chard. Now, we absolutely love chard. I love all the different colours, but this peppermint, you know, bright peppermint coloured stalks into the green veined leaves look sensational. So I've got my hands on some of those. And isn't it great to be able to grow not only things we can eat, but that while they're growing look so wonderful? And that's a massive part of the growing for me. And then finally, the only other thing I haven't sown yet are my parsnip, tender and true. And I'm hanging fire with them. Parsnips, for those of you that haven't grown them, are notoriously difficult to germinate. They like it warm and they don't like to get too dry. And with these massive fluctuations in temperature at the moment, that cold snap overnight every night, and we have actually had a few cold days, for me is not going to be a success. And I've often waited until, so what are we now, it's April, May, even tail end of May before I've sown my parsnips before, and still have a really cracking harvest. So I'm going to sit tight with the parsnip, but let's get the chard, peppermint chard, and the Jack Be Little pumpkins sown. So I'm going to do that next. So that's some more seeds sown. Back to my original list that I showed you in last week's video, and I'm really flying through this now. So I'm not going to run through the things that are done because you watched me. The things left to do are to continue with the pathways, and I've made a start on that today. The wildflower meadow, and I need to get those wildflower seeds sown, otherwise I'm going to really miss that window. And that's something I'm either going to do today or tomorrow. The shed painting will have to wait for now. I really need to wait for the better weather, and I need to empty the shed to do that. The greenhouse, I will show you when we do that. We just need to arrange where we're putting it. I need to trim the area. We need to put the base down. But I'll take you along with me on the journey when we're doing that. And of course the asparagus bed. Now I'm talking about sowing things. I still haven't had any germination on my asparagus, so I really don't think it's going to germinate. So I'm going to do a second sowing. And again, I'm wondering if it was just too cold here with these fluctuations. I'm cracking on with the outside beds. The flower bed, let's go and have a look and I'll show you what's going on out there. So I've really been cracking on with this bed. As you can see, I've got rid of all that dead foliage and the bulk of the weeds. There's still a little bit more weeding to do, so again I'm going to crack on with that either this afternoon or tomorrow, but you can see it's looking so much better. Now I'll be honest with you, I may have to go back and look at photographs or footage to remember, because flowers are very new to me, so I don't recognise them as they're coming up, so I need to try and remember. I think that big clump there is some sweet williams. You may also recall the daffodils that I popped in very, very late. Now we've got a little bit of spikes coming. I don't think we're going to get any flowers this season because they're so far behind all the others, but they're going to pop up and then they'll die back, and then hopefully next season they'll put on a bit of a show. So there's various bits and pieces in here. I just need to remind myself what each thing is. Inevitably, some of them will have been lost and won't come back. I'm a little bit worried about the Rudbeckia. Last week I really thought it was dead and done for, but actually I can see a few little green leaves coming up, so fingers crossed. So I do think that some of these perennials, some that I grew from seed and some that I bought and popped in, are definitely coming back. So I'm going to have a good old look at where the spaces are, look back, as I say, at some old photographs and footage to remind myself of what was where, get rid of what I know are weeds, and then I can see what space I've got, get some more seeds sown, and possibly a trip to the garden centre to buy some more plants to fill this bed right up. And I'm really looking forward again to another summer of colour and scent, and watching those butterflies, insects and bees buzzing around. I'm Rue, and this is Rue's Life.